He was a film actor, he was a TV actor, he was governor of California, and he was president of the United States of America. His name is Ronald Reagan, and he will forever be remembered as a lovable, warm, kind man, and of course, president. I learned firsthand that through research what kind of person he really was. Now, I know a few of you probably don't know much about him, but I hope after today you'll know him like he was an old best friend. He was a father, a husband, and he allowed his career to expand beyond anyone's wildest dreams. So take a step into the past of Ronald Reagan and get to know how great of a person he really was. Growing up for Ronald Reagan was not the easiest thing for him. It was a sunny day on February 6, 1911 in Tampico, Illinois, when Ronald Reagan was born. Like many children that live in families that move to where the money is, he constantly moved from townhouse to townhouse until his dad opened up a shoe store in Dixon, Illinois in 1920. Looking back at his younger years, Ronald Reagan constantly compared his life to that of Tom Sawyer, because he had a drunken dad and he was always running around the mucky shores of the nearby rivers. Even though his family met many challenges while growing up, Ronald Reagan still succeeded in high school. He played guard on varsity football, he was president of his school, and he was an actor in school productions. Not only was he a star student in high school, but he was also an excellent student at Eureka College in Illinois. He got an athletic scholarship to go to college, and while he was in college, he continued to be involved in many activities, such as football, track, swim team, student council, as president, of course, and school productions. After he graduated in 1932, he started his first career as a sports announcer on radio in Iowa. Ronald Reagan's hardships didn't end after his childhood, though, and he had many more difficulties that he faced that everyday ordinary people have to face. Ronald Reagan met his first and his second wife while he was in the acting industry. He met his first wife, Jane Wayman, and in 1940, they got married. They had a daughter, Maureen, and adopted a son named Michael. Their marriage didn't last long, though, and they got a divorce in 1942. Soon after, he found the love of his life, actress Nancy Davis, and while he was president of the Screen Actors Guild. It was hard for him to get over his first marriage, but they eventually got married in 1952. They had a daughter, Patricia, and a son, Ronald. With his wife by his side and his whole life in front of him, he continued to look brightly to his future. In 1981, he was the oldest president to be elected at the age of 63, and his accomplishments in the politics just started there. In the first 4 years, he had to deal with many difficulties, but that didn't faze him as becoming a wonderful president. When he was leaving a hotel with many of his advisors, he had the shock of his life. On a rainy day on March 30th, 1981, John Hinckley Jr. tried to murder the president. Even though he was successful in shooting him, several weeks later, he was back on his feet, working hard, and continuing his career. The first thing he said when he woke up in the hospital to his wife Nancy was, "Honey, I forgot to duck." During his second term, he faced many challenges, but he still cared for Americans. The hardest thing for him was to call the spouses on January 28, 1986, of those who died in the Challenger space shuttle crash. But on the contrary, his most proud moment was his speech, "Tear Down This Wall," in Berlin on June 12, 1987. After his presidency, he and Nancy moved to LA, where their house was located, in January 1989. Soon after, in 1991, the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum was opened in Simi Valley, California. In 1994, Ronald Reagan announced to the public that he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he did this in hopes to raise public awareness. 10 years later, he died on June 6, 2004, due to the complications of his illness. His funeral was held at the Presidential Library, where hundreds of thousands of Americans came to pay their last respects. His body was taken to D.C. for public viewing and then brought back to the library for a private burial on the library grounds. Ronald Reagan showed that it was possible to achieve anything if you set your mind to it, whether you are rich or poor, small or big. If you believe you can do it, you can. He started out as a poor man's son, but then became the #1 person in America to look to. He showed that the American dream is real and achievable. And if you don't believe you will ever be able to achieve something, remember, dream big and don't forget to duck.